So I have with me Jennifer Rogers, Robert Bianchi, and Ryan Lizza is sticking around. And so, Jennifer, just to you on the Michael Cohen case. Let me read. This is our reporting from Laura Jarrett and Evan Perez in the last 24 hours. Federal prosecutors in Manhattan have said that the investigation into Michael Cohen is, quote, largely focused in his private business dealings and personal financial dealings. If that remains the case, there may be no reason for Jeff Sessions to consider recusal from aspects of the probe. So it would make sense. Tell me why it would make sense that he wouldn't recuse himself from this.
So he's recused from the Russia investigation because when it came out that he had spoken to the ambassador, he became a witness at least and possibly a subject of the Russia investigation.
Right.
So that's why if it's separate from that, if the Southern District case has nothing to do substantively with the Russia case, he isn't necessarily recused from the Southern District case.
So if they're saying, though, that the investigation of Michael Cohen is, if it's largely focused on his private business dealings and personal financial dealings, I guess I'm just wondering, and this is just me not being a lawyer and just being curious, if it has to do with, among other issues, $130,000 that Cohen paid out to hush Stormy Daniels and questions about campaign finance. So you're saying that has nothing to do with Jeff Sessions?
Well, here's the issue on the campaign finance stuff. So Jeff Sessions was part of the campaign, which is why some people are saying campaign finance, there's a problem here. But here's how I see it. You're only conflicted out if you have a financial conflict, if you have a personal conflict, like it's your brother being investigated, or if you're possibly a witness, subject, or target of the investigation. With respect to the campaign finance stuff with the Stormy Daniels payment, that was about a contribution and whether that contribution was too large for an individual contribution or was not properly disclosed. Jeff Sessions was on the policy side of the campaign, so to me, it's pretty likely that he had nothing to do with and didn't know about contributions coming in and how they were characterized or hidden or whatever. So he's probably not a witness or subject or target of that investigation, and that's why, to me, it's probably okay.
So I have a similar question. So does this mean that we can assume that the Southern District of New York investigation into Cohen has nothing whatsoever to do with Russia? Because if it did, the previous recusal would kick in? I mean, does the non-recusal now give us a little bit more information about what that investigation is not about?
Yes, here's what it's a prosecutorial discretion decision. And here's what they're saying. Right now, largely, listen to the words being used, they're carefully chosen. It is a case that's really dealing with Cohen's personal issues, but there's also a campaign piece to this with regard to the Stormy Daniels payment.
Yes.
Right now, we don't see a connection between that and collusion, but if it goes back down and they find a connection, i.e. they flip Cohen or some other data or information comes back, it's going to go back up to Mueller's probe.
Let me time out on this conversation because we need to get a quick commercial break in. Also noteworthy when Senator Leahy, and you saw the smile from the AG, and obviously he wasn't going to say anything on this, but he was asking if the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein or Bob Mueller, the special counsel, were to go away, would you resign? And he said that's speculation, and he wasn't going to answer that. Quick break. We're back with you guys right after this. Back with my panel here. We're talking about the Attorney General Jeff Sessions, and part of what we were just discussing is some questions that came in from Democrat Patrick Leahy, senator there up on Capitol Hill. And one of the questions he asked of the Attorney General was if the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein or the special counsel Robert Mueller were to be fired, the question was, would you resign? And the answer from the Attorney General with a smile was that that's speculation. So he obviously didn't want to go there. And Ryan Lizza, just to you, last week, according to our own CNN reporting, Sessions threatened to resign privately, talking to Trump, if he were to fire Rosenstein.
Yeah. So he's laid down a couple of markers, we think, so far, right?
Are you surprised he didn't say more, though, and talking?
Not really, because he's up on Capitol Hill and he doesn't want to create news. I mean, the fact that he didn't say anything, suggests that reporting is correct, that he would actually resign, right? He didn't say, no, I'll stay in my job. He could do whatever. The president can do whatever he wants, right?
Right. Saying nothing is saying something.
Saying something, and he remember he's had a couple of cues so far that he would actually care about this. One is the famous dinner. Remember, he had dinner with Rosenstein and the Solicitor General, so the top three people at the Justice Department, in a very public place in Washington D.C. He kind of knew that he was going to be spotted, and that was seen as sort of a show of force the three top people at Justice saying we're sticking together, and that was in the middle of a lot of the speculation about whether Trump would do anything like fire Rosenstein or Mueller. And then, as CNN recently reported, he's said this. He's communicated to the White House. Excuse me, it was Washington Post.
Forgive me. Yes.
I just figure all the good reporting is CNN.
I appreciate that. Was that and the New Yorker, of course, as well.
And I think he's laid down a marker that he shouldn't do this. And let's be honest, the two things that are preventing Trump from getting rid of these guys is Justice Department pushing back and Congress pushing back, saying this is a red line, don't cross it, Mr. President. I mean, there were Republicans recently who said it would lead to impeachment.
Yep. Jennifer, last word from you on this?
It's very interesting. I was glad to see that reporting last week that suggests that he is willing to stand up for his deputy. I think it's vitally important that our lead law enforcement person be willing to stand up for his institution. So I was glad to see that. I agree his not saying anything about it today, doesn't mean all that much, but let's just hope that he stays strong in the case we're actually faced with that.
Jennifer, Bob, and Ryan, thank you all so much.